What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over Solana, as we have seen a lot of changes happening over the last couple of days. Of course, the last update was about 3 days ago, in which we did talk about this looming death cross between the 50 and the 200 moving average. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of talk about my expectations, where I think this thing is going, and exactly how I'm playing it. So of course we have been kind of keeping an eye on this, right? Not saying that it's going to be absolutely detrimental, but it does have the ability to trigger a little bit of fear, okay? That's just kind of what happens, right? Now I put out a whole video basically talking about why I don't think this is a super huge deal, so definitely do go check out the last Solana video. It will be linked down into the description. But as it does approach, we do need to start to be prepared that it can have some type of impact. And what that impact look like is really dependent on where the price goes, in my opinion, over the next roughly 48 to 72 hours. So kind of paying attention to what we've been seeing. Well, what we know is that on a macro-based scale, from our swing low up to our swing high, we have been interacting within our 618 to 786 Fibonacci zone, okay? And now as we did enter in towards the bottom, I said this is Solana's last stand. We need to see Solana holding the 786 level around $88, because if it is unable to do so, it becomes extremely likely that we push towards $65. Well, coming off of that, we can see that we exactly went down, held that key level of support. We never closed the daily candles below it, and we started to work our way back towards the top side, and now we are retesting the top side of this Fibonacci zone. So since we are now testing the top side of this Fibonacci zone, there is a very clear level of resistance at this 618 level, currently sitting at $111. Now, if you remember in the last video, I said that this is the level that is going to be extremely important for us to be able to return back to our downward sloping trend line, and in my opinion, have a fair chance at being able to break it. The reason I said that is that if we were able to clear this 618 level around $111, that would also give us the ability to see a closing over the 20 simple moving average on the daily charts, both of which would then be, massive breaks of resistance that say that we could have a very fair shot at coming up to break this line of resistance, which would then allow us to start to see some more long-term growth, possibly even as far as back up to $150 to retest our most recent rejective high. And so considering the fact that everything does kind of boil down to this key level right here, it is extremely important that we do start to see these daily closes back above that $110 level before any of us get too excited that Solana's price is coming back. Now, the reason I even say that is because looking at something like the 4-hour time frames, for example, we are starting to see that we have worked our full spectrum from, this oversold to this quote-unquote overbought territory, and there may be one more swing back to the upside here. There definitely is a little bit more room, but when you put that into relation with our most recent macro high up here, we are seeing some pretty extreme bearish divergence, in which we're seeing higher highs on the RSI, but lower highs here on the price. Looking at something like the hourly RSI as well, you can see that this momentum of this uptrend here has already started to decline, and that we are not being able to see this move continue the strength in which it had saw around this time here. So as the strength does weaken, as we do approach a key level of resistance, it says that that level of resistance is enacting and doing what it's supposed to do, and until we're able to clear it, we are definitely not in the clear. And so one thing we can see though is that if we go out to the daily charts, we have seen this trend break here on the RSI. Now, this is usually the first sign that we are going to be finding a bottom relatively soon. The reason I say that is because the bears had been being extremely successful in finding this level of resistance and pushing the price or the RSI back to the downside, allowing that to be the top of the momentum, right? We see a momentum swing to the upside, the bears find success in pushing it down. Find a momentum swing to the upside, the bears find a successful attempt at pushing it back down. But this time around, as we did hit this oversold territory, you can see here that the bears clearly did fail the rejection here, and the bulls started to see a little bit more strength back up towards the upside as we did get this larger correction and this possible support establishment here. So this is a very, very good sign that we are able to get back out of this resistance, and we're not sitting and consolidating under this key level anymore, because it now opens up the door for us to see this return back to the upside, which again could look like growth back up towards $155. Now, even if we do look at something like, Solana in terms of its comparison to Bitcoin, right? The Solana Bitcoin pair, you can see that this thing is trying its best to hold these key levels as support. Similarly to on Solana USD, we had this key level of support established on the 618 to 786 Fibonacci zone. On the Solana Bitcoin charts, we came back to our range lows back here, and we are trying our absolute hardest right now to hold this level of support and to break the trend on the RSI to see that continuation and possible retest back to the upside up here, in which optimally speaking, of course, we do see that break out to the upside and a more of a bullish continuation pattern here. Even if you look at something like the Solana Ethereum charts, we are currently right now trying to work our way back above this key level of support. And similarly to how on Solana USD, we are running into resistance here, we are seeing that same thing on the Solana Ethereum charts as we are finding this previous level of support and are trying not to, of course, establish it as resistance to see a push back to the downside. And so for all of these things combined, what that means for us is that we really realistically want to see that Solana within the next, I would give it 48 to 72 hours. Let's go ahead and say 3 days. Let's give it 3 full days to see that we are capable of at least getting back above this 20 simple moving average on the daily charts, which looks like a daily close back around $116. In an event in which we do that, it does become extremely likely that we retest the trend line. And of course, that is the final step of this short-term correction back to the upside that starts to say we are in bullish reversal territory. Now, of course, if the price does start to roll, say if we are unable to see that breaking there and we do start to see the price roll, do expect that we will see Solana's price probably come back towards even as low as this $94 area. It wouldn't really surprise me is that if we see, this big pullback to the downside, considering the fact that we are extended on the 4-hour RSI, it wouldn't really shock me that it needs, it may need to come back down, back test this previous level of support, maybe even back test this previous level of resistance and this 618 level, and then use that for the continuation back to the upside sometime into next week or so. Considering the fact that, again, we did see that we reached this level up here towards 70 that is on the table, it is possible that we will need to see this thing kind of cool off a bit before approaching that very strong level of resistance, which does look like our macro trend line. And so with all that being said, basically what we're going to go ahead and say as a summary for today's video is although this move does look great and we are back above $100, we are not out of the woods yet. And until we can start to see some daily closes of back above 116 and realistically the breaking of our downward sloping macro trend line, we aren't really confirming a bullish reversal just yet, and this very possibly could still be a bull trap. Now, although that is still on the table, there is a potential for us to see that breakout based off of certain things like our RSI already seeing its break and the fact that we are seeing this, kind of strong move, but we're not seeing extreme bearish divergence on the macro charts. We definitely just need to see this thing working its way up relatively soon. In the event in which we do start to see the price start to roll, as we said earlier, do expect that it can go as low as $94 down to even $89 and still be within the realm of seeing some type of growth back to the upside. But optimally speaking, we do set the higher low and we don't set the equivalent low as $89. So that's going to be the update for the day. That is what we need to be looking out for. You guys know that I'm not going to just sit here and try to pump and hype. I'm just going to tell you what does it look like for us to be able to see this thing actually see macro growth, 30, 40, 50% gains, because that's what I'm trying to take advantage of. Of course, these short-term swing trades are fun and I do take them on sometimes, but right now I am under the anticipation that the market could see a strong bounce pretty soon here, and I am planning for that by looking for the confirmations that'll tell us it is that time. So of course, if you guys did enjoy today's video and if you found it useful, please do let me know simply by smashing that like button down below. And if you can also go ahead and go down to the link in the description for I Trust Capital, you can actually start trading crypto on their platform completely tax free. It is something to be worth checking out. Taxes do eat up probably up to 30 to 40% of every single gain that you make in crypto, and it's not worth paying taxes on it, especially considering we're moving towards decentralization. So do go down to that link down in the description. Again, create an account, verify your email, and start to explore some of your options with tax-free trading, as it is extremely worth it. Okay, but more info on that, I do have a full video coming out on that within the next couple of days, so do stay tuned for that, and I will see you all next time. Peace.